Okay, alrighty. Well, first let me apologize to all the viewers of the channel. I've been absent for quite some time. It turns out my video editing workstation had crashed spectacularly a few months ago. I've been working on that machine for, oh gosh, about a year now, and I was just so frustrated because I spent so much money on buying components for it that I just powered it down, and I didn't want to deal with it, and I didn't have the money actually to buy a whole new rig. So I waited and waited, and eventually I thought, well, I'll have to swap out the motherboard, I suppose. And when I powered it on today to begin that process, lo and behold, it started working properly. Go figure. I had changed some of the CPUs on the motherboard. So it's an HP Xeon Z800 dual socket workstation, and one of the CPUs actually had the memory controller go bad, and that meant that I only had half of the memory available in the system. So I bought some replacement CPUs off eBay and was about to install them, and then the whole thing went bananas when I booted it up. So probably what I think might have happened is that the hardware, it detected new hardware and started beeping and gave me all kinds of diagnostics. So I powered it down and powered it up for the first time today, thinking I would have to start work on it, and it happens that everything got cleared out. It picked up the new settings, picked up the new hardware, even registered the full amount of RAM that I had installed on this machine a year or two ago. So it's working now. At least it's working to as it was before all this fiasco started. So I'm taking a new video, and that's where we're at today. Just wanted to show you, this is my Tangelo, or one of my Tangelo trees. Look at that. Actually, they're not doing too bad. Last year I had thought the tree is infected with yellow dragon disease, or what's commonly called citrus greening. I thought that this tree would never again be able to ripen fruit properly, and it looks like I was mistaken. What might have happened last year is that I was using a foliar spray on the trees, foliar fertilizer to help combat the citrus greening problem. And as it happens, it appears that chemical, basically that witch's brew of chemicals, was actually affecting the fruit itself as well. So this year, because I thought this tree was actually going to die on me, I didn't bother spraying with that citrus foliar spray, and lo and behold, it started working. It's not working, but it was able to ripen the fruit properly. There are some fruits here and there that are not completely yellowish or orangish like the way they should be. Some of them are a bit small, but by and large it's doing pretty well. And let me show you what I mean by that. Get the camera up close. That one right there that you see, that big one in the center of the field of view, that is typical of what you'd expect for a honeydew Tangelo. I think this is honeydew. Yeah, this is a honeydew, and that's what I expect. I mean, yes, it has a few blemishes, but it's not going to be like the stuff you buy at the grocery store, because they use all kinds of chemicals to try and keep the fruit looking pretty, and sometimes they even harvest it green and then they let it ripen, or they artificially ripen it. But I don't like doing any of that. So besides, when you eat these things, you just basically rip off the peel. So what does it matter what the peel looks like? But in any event, I've had a few of these and they are really good, honestly. So I'm quite happy, because this tree had cost me I think about $200 when I bought it. I bought it at a local tractor supply store, believe it or not, and I thought it was kind of expensive, but I think there's a reason why they charged that. I think they grafted it to dwarfing rootstock, and I think it might have been a rootstock that is resistant to yellow dragon or something like that. So there's the root base there. But yeah, this tree's doing really well. I'm happy with it. I have a few other Tangelos, but this is the one that I've been focusing on lately. Just gonna pan around it so you can see. You can see a little bit of what I'm looking, what it looks like on the other side. I thought I'd mention it anyway because this is the season when you start picking these fruits. I've had a few already. I'll probably get a few more today. I wanted to show you what citrus looks like, how beautiful citrus really is, and it's a shame that the state of Florida has been experiencing such a problem with yellow dragon and leaf miner and all kinds of citrus diseases. Because I remember when I was a boy growing up in the 70s, I mean, the state of Florida, the whole state was like a huge, giant citrus bowl. You'd find citrus trees growing everywhere. When all the problems started with citrus, what ended up happening is that many homeowners who were not growing it commercially opted to grow mangoes instead, which turned out to be, you know, a good bet as well. Mangoes do well in Florida, or at least in South Florida anyway. And Central Florida, they're not so prolific producers, but they can still grow. But as in most things in life, you know, enough people get on the bandwagon and things start to go haywire, and that's what happened with the mangoes. Now there's a bacterial disease spreading around with the mangoes, and I don't know how it got here. I'm guessing it got imported from the Caribbean somewhere, but a lot of these varieties of mango fruits are affected by it, and so it basically causes the fruit to split and prematurely rot on the tree, well, before it's fully ripened. So that's a new problem we have to deal with. Anyway, let me go back to the idea. My original plan was to show you a video of the mangoes that I have in the garden, and there they are right there. So you can see I've made a video about this before. Those mango trees, you can see that I have a few of them. I have that big one in the foreground is an Alfonso mango. The little one back there down the slope, that is a Glen mango. And let me move the camera a little closer here. The little one there, lighting's not that great, but the little one there that you see there, hang on, let me try and get this. That little one right there is a Kent mango, which surprisingly is very prolific for its age. It's a very small tree, it's not very big, and yet it wants to throw out flowers like crazy. So you can see, and you can clearly see that. And then let me take the camera off the tripod, it'll be easier, I think. There you go. So that's a Kent mango right there, like I was mentioning just a few minutes ago. Behind this Kent is another Alfonso mango, which is surprisingly doing quite well. That right there is an Alfonso mango. Look at all the flowers and the blooms on that. We are in the beginning of January, by the way. So this is still the middle of winter. And these mango trees, they don't go dormant. They're not deciduous fruit trees. So I think what happened is I made the mistake of fertilizing them with you know, coffee grounds. I use spent coffee grounds as like an organic mulch. I throw it on the base of the trees, and that has a lot of nitrogen in it, and it stimulates the tree to start producing, you know, branches and stuff. I didn't expect it to produce flowers, so that was my mistake. I was hoping for new branching, because I wanted the tree to expand its roots, because these Alfonso mangoes are new transplants this year in the garden. And what happened was that instead of growing more branches, they decided to put out flowers. So it's kind of bittersweet. I'm happy that it's throwing out flowers, which means it's going to be productive young. But at the same time, it's still early in winter here. And even though our winters are mild compared to what most people would experience in higher latitudes, they're cold enough still to affect the flowers of these mango trees. So I have my doubts that they're going to actually survive. The flowers will probably fall off. I may not get fruit set this year, but you can see how just jam-packed it is with flowers. So there is the that's an Alfonso. There's the other Alfonso off in the distance. That's one right there is an Alfonso. And then there's the Glen behind that. That's the Glen, right there in the center field of view. And then off in a pot there, that thing in the pot, that is a Valencia Pride. I had this in the ground earlier this year, but I had to remove it because a windstorm came and knocked it over. And I thought to myself, the last thing I want is for a windstorm to snap this tree at the graft union. It's already happened once before, and I was in a panic thinking that it might have happened to this tree again. And so I went ahead and inspected it carefully after the thunder shower was over, and it turned out that it didn't snap at the graft union, but I still didn't want to take any chances, so I removed it, put it in a pot, and let it grow. I'm going to let it grow this year in a pot, and then I'm going to transplant it to my front yard, which I think is a good spot for it. But notice that it also has flowers. Look at that. It's putting flowers up. There they are. Can you see? Those are mango panicles for Valencia Pride. I've had Valencia Pride before. It's a good mango, actually. It's not bad. I wouldn't say it's my favorite. It does have a little bit of fiber, but it's not a lot. And then back off in the distance here, that is a Glen mango. This one actually is always behind, a little bit behind the other Glen, so it will put panicle flowers this year because it did so last year, but it's always a little bit behind, so it'll probably be in about a month or two. And beside that Glen mango is a Phoenix mango. This is a new variety patented by the Zill family down in South Florida. I became aware of this variety through videos posted online by another channel called Truly Tropical. She actually, I forget her name, and if you're watching this, I am sorry, I did forget your name. I do like your channel, and I do see, I did see your references to the Phoenix mango, which really got my attention because I liked it. It was such a beautiful mango, and it looked, the flavor profile that you described seemed real interesting. So I went ahead and bought one from my local nursery, and so that's a Phoenix mango. It's still patented by the Zill family, which means I can't graft it. I don't have a license to graft and reproduce this thing, so I don't intend to do any of that until the patent expires, probably. It might be close to, some people might say, oh, it's close to the house. Yes, it is kind of close, but you know, I've actually grew up in South Florida where mango trees were this close to the house, and it didn't really do any harm. If anything, it actually helped the trees because the sun radiation bouncing off the walls basically is reflected back as infrared, and it keeps the tree warm. So I'm hoping, I have hopes that it'll actually benefit the tree. Let me see what this is up here. I think it might be putting up flowers. Let me see. Right there. Yeah, it's actually got little flowers. Look at that. I can't focus the camera because the light's not good. Every time I point it up at the sky, it throws the exposure off. But let me see if I can get a different angle here. I'm actually walking up close to the wall. It's not a pretty tree. It's kind of ugly. Its leaves are always, you know, they have this weird damage on them. They're kind of funky. They get weird colors and stuff. You'd think the tree is sick, but it's not actually. This seems to be normal for this tree. I could spray it, and I probably will, but later on. But yeah, Phoenix mango. Alright, moving right along. This is another topic of discussion that I wanted to show you. This is my guanabana tree, or soursop. What a pain this tree is. You'd think by looking at it, you know, you'd say, look at the bottom there, you see all the leaves on the ground base, and you think, oh yeah, this is just going dormant. No, this tree does not go dormant, okay? This is what happens when you get cold weather into this tree. This is what it does. This is how it behaves. And by cold, I don't mean the kind of cold you're probably accustomed to. I'm talking 40 degrees Fahrenheit, which is not really cold by any stretch of the imagination. Look at how the tree behaves. It just starts dropping its leaves. And this is in beginning of January. Our coldest months are late January, early February. So by the time March comes around, I expect this tree will be completely devoid of leaves. And the leaves that it has now are actually kind of damaged anyway. You can see what the cold does to them. See that? That's what the cold does to the leaves. And you can see what it does. It's not really a deciduous fruit tree. It's just you know, responding to the cold temperatures by dropping its leaves. It's like a thermal shock. And if this happens enough, the tree, you know, after it drops its leaves, the tree, it still has buds, right? So it'll try and put out new leaves, and then when another cold spell comes, then it'll actually do it again, and you can see it right there's evidence of that right there. See it? That's a new leaf. It's trying to put out new leaves, right? So if another cold spell comes, there's another one right there. Another cold spell comes, and it drops its leaves. Eventually, if you exhaust all the buds that are available in the tree may die. It may basically starve to death. So this is the problem with growing this kind of a tree, which is really, really tropical in subtropical areas like Central Florida, where I'm at. Hence the reason I put it here in this sheltered corner. The wall here, the wall that'll, you know, protecting it from most of the wind, and I'm hoping that as these mango trees grow, they will form a shield and protect the tree even more. But yeah, it's not guaranteed that this is going to do much for me. It's already put flowers this year, but all the fruitlets that formed basically fell off, or in the process of falling off. Yeah. So, yeah, just another challenge in the little orchard experimentation and growth. Here's some more. Let me see. Yeah, there's my. What else can I show you? Let me put it back on the tripod here. I'm trying to think about what else you might be interested in seeing. Might be good for this video. Well, I can't think of anything right now. I mean, pretty much every tree that's in my garden I've made a video on, or I've described in some way. I have some new trees arriving this year. Some new apple trees coming in. I have basically a Rubinet apple, which I know is a long shot. It's a cross between Cox's Orange Pippin and Golden Delicious. That tree is supposedly, it has the flavor profile of Cox's. It has the heat tolerance of Golden, but it also has the affinity for diseases that Cox's Orange Pippin has. So I don't have a lot of hopes for it. I'm hoping that it'll be a little bit more tolerant than Cox's Orange Pippin, and I'll be able to maybe grow it and keep it alive. But I wanted to give it a try because I really like Cox's Orange Pippin, and I wanted to have something like it that could do well here. And I'll be getting a Rubinet. I'll be getting also a new Roxbury Russet tree. I have a Roxbury Russet here. I will be getting another Liberty apple, which is I think the best apple for this area. Liberty is a relatively recent cross. It's a cross with a crab apple. It might be Macoun, that's one of its parents, but it's very resistant to disease. It grows well in this area. I have a what's the other one? There's a green apple that I have coming in. I forget the name of it now. Why is that one? No, why does that one always cause me problems? It's hard for me to remember it. Gosh, Gold Rush. It's a Gold Rush. Gold Rush. I got another Gold Rush coming in. That's a relatively healthy variety from Indiana. Got a Gold Rush coming in. And what else do I got? I got a Gold Rush. I have a new quince tree, an Aromatnaya quince. I already have one Aromatnaya, but I wanted another one. And it says there's Rubinet, Liberty, Gold Rush, Aromatnaya, and I think that's it. Those are all the trees that are coming in this year. Let me just say a little bit of closing about the apple trees I have in the yard. Apples, some apples do really well in this area, others not so much. What I have found is that the russeted apples seem to be the best suited for the humidity and the heat of Central Florida. Egremont russet, which is an English variety, Ashmead's kernel, also an English variety, those are doing really well. Even the Roxbury russets, which is an American russeted variety, is doing okay. Some French varieties that are slightly russeted, like Orleans Renette, is okay. Calvillo Blanc is doing okay in the garden. Things that are not doing too well, surprisingly, one of my apples died recently. It was the, what's that? It's an Arkansas Black. That died. I have another Arkansas Black grafted. You know, it's a Stark variety, Stark Brothers variety. That is not doing too well. I don't think they tolerate you know, apple scab really well. I think that's part of the problem. The McCoons, they're alive, but they get scabbed like crazy. Same with Sweet 16. It's not doing too well. The scab, it's very scabby. And what else? Trying to think of anything else here. That's pretty much it. Actually, one of the trees that's been doing pretty well here is Newtown Pippin. Believe it or not, it's an American variety. It dates back all the way to Washington and Jefferson. It was a variety that was discovered in New York a couple hundred years ago. And it does get scab, but it still grows, believe it or not. So I actually am happy with the results from Newtown Pippin, despite the you know, the susceptibility to scab. I think that's pretty much it. King David is a cross, is a hybrid or a cross with Arkansas Black, and it inherited Arkansas Black's problems. I have a King David here, but it's not doing too well. So there you go. Oh, one more update. I also will probably lose my Anna apple tree this year. It doesn't seem to be doing too well. I don't know what's going on with it, but I think it's in its last legs. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and sign off, guys, and I'll be making more videos for you as the spring progresses and as the trees get into bloom. If I see something really noteworthy, something really interesting, I'll make a video and I'll post it for you. Anyway, signing off. Have a good day.